Now the fifth race, the Sentient Jet Breeders' Cup Sprint, worth $1.5 million, going 3/4 of a mile. The sprinters.
It's gonna be a fun race, I think, to watch.
Definitely. I mean, this is a race that you can probably click the all button on any given day.
But I don't know if you'll get a price. I don't know if it'll be worth it because I feel like maybe Euro Warriors will be a short price. Giant Ryan could even be a short price with all the hype behind that horse.
Yeah.
Jackson Ben, I think, is going to be a short price, and also Big Drama is going to be a short price. And I think one of those three wins the race.
Yeah, with so many people at the track and so many people pouring money into the pools. I don't know how that. It's tough when, like in the Derby and these big races, when everybody says that they have their own picks and then the pools all shift. You might get a little bit of a 5-1 or 4-1 on one of these guys.
I mean, Euro Years came second to Rocket Man over in Dubai. Rocket Man is arguably one of the top 10 horses right now, I thought.
Yeah, no, look, I'm going to go against Your Ears. I'm going to crash the party. Everyone's on Your Ears' jock. He ran that famous 107-1 in the Palos Verdes, and for that you got to tip your cap to Bob Baffert. But you know what? He's ran 2 races on the Poly. That's where he made his big show. He went over to Belmont, got a little trouble at the start, got a lot of trouble at the start, but the horse didn't lift the hoof after that. So you got to show a little more gameness, I believe, in a cowboy race like this. People are going to be breaking from the gate all out to get good positioning. He's in the one hole. This isn't a luxury vacation over here. When you're running 6 furlongs, 3/4, it's everyone going balls to the wall from the start. So I'm not a big fan of Euro Years.
I mean, Big Drama off that freshening. I mean, he could just come out and just do what he did last year and just blow him out. I mean, it's not hard to think that could just happen, and maybe he could be a single.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he's won his 2 races this year, so you really can't, hate on him. But from just a little whisperings that he's not coming into the race under ideal conditions, but, everybody's an armchair trainer. Everybody has their own opinions on the side. So, personally, I'm going to go with Jackson Ben on top.
Okay.
I think the little horse has a lot of heart and, always gives a great effort. I think this distance is just fine for him. I'm going to have Amazing Destiny, who's run the best 2 races of his life over here at Churchill Downs, including last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint when he finished second at 23-1. So I'm going to have Jackson Ben on top, Amazing Destiny, Giant Ryan, who like the trainer said, just always finds a way to win in the mix, and Big Drama for 4th.
I mean, we were there that day when Jackson Ben won that race. Sydney Scandy was in there Aconite at Jersey Town.
Yeah.
That was a strong race. I mean, that was definitely a strong race, and I mean, he won real well. 3 1/4, and came off that pace that day. I think Jackson Ben, could win this race, and he ran second to Uncle Mo. In the mud that day in the Kelso. I think he's coming into the race real well, and Zito chose this race over the mile, and I think that was a good decision.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot of speed in this race, and Jackson Ben always tries, and he likes to come off the pace. So I mean, there's a lot to like about Jackson's Bend. So that's what I use. I use Jackson's Bend, Big Drama, and Euro Ears. Depending again how on race day how Big Drama looks and how Jackson Ben looks, but I think it's one of those 3 horses that actually takes a picture in this race. Jackson's Bend, Euro Ears, or Big Drama. I don't see any of these other horses winning. So those on top.
All right. Well, on to race 6. It's the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, going 5/8, 5 furlongs. To be honest with you, this is the least popular race in my opinion. It's the least that I know of anybody in this race. I'm just going on pure form here. I'm going to go with the 2 Captain Obvious choices, which is the 10 Havelock and the 8 Regally Ready. Regally Ready's 2 for 2 at this distance at the Churchill Downs turf course. He won a grade 3 on an allowance, so I know he likes the track there. And Havelock coming off a 5.5 furlong grade 3 win over at Keeneland. You can't knock that. One guy races on or near the lead, the other one's a closer. Those are my 2 picks for this race.
Okay, again, horses that I like, drawn to the outside. I've always been a friend of Caracatado, and, Talamos back up. He never ran this short of a race, but the horse, always tries. I loved his second to Courageous Cat, even though I think Courageous Cat was just playing with him, But I I like Caricotado. I like Chamberlain Bridge. I mean, he's defending champion. I mean, you could make a case saying that, he's like Goldakova. He's not, coming into this race as good as he did last year. But I use Chamberlain Bridge and Caricotado. One horse that I liked and I think is going to be a price is Great Attack. Like you were saying before, Wesley Ward with these short races, Jeffrey Sanchez. The horse, he's always in the mix. And he could be, a horse that just sits off, this real fast pace and kicks home real well. Again, going to be a price. See how he looks on race day. But Wesley Ward's always dangerous with these, these short sprints.
Sure.
And these turf sprints. So, Havelock, I had him in the Woodford. I loved him that race. I don't know if I could take him in this race just on class alone. I don't know if he has the class against this field. And, never really ran into grade 1 or anything like that. But we'll see.
Sure.
See come race day. Exciting race, it's going to be.
Oh, I mean, we have 14 horses, breaking in a 5 furlong race. I mean, this is like a quarter horse. You're off and the race is over before you can blink an eye. So
Yeah.
a lot of things can happen, definitely, for sure.
All right, so now we got the BC Dirt Mile. I think it's going to be.
This is probably one of my favorite, top 3
yeah.
favorite races of the entire 2 days of championship racing. You have so many horses where they had a lot of potential, star power. They ran the Triple Crown. Big grade 1 winners up and down the board.
Yeah, this is going to be great.
It's a really, really cool race. I'm partial to Shackelford.
Yep.
I've been partial to him ever since the Florida Derby. He's got a great heart. He's that I'm going to go to the lead and try to catch me if he can type of thing. But in this race, with the factor, he's definitely got to sit off the pace.
Especially with him into the inside. I mean, but then again, what do you do? I mean, do you pull up on him? I mean, the factor's going out. He's only got 1 gear, and it's freakishly fast.
And he's got to go after him because if not, he's going to get smushed in.
Sure.
Coming out of that, out of that chute. So let's see how that develops. But you got Shackelford. I'm going to have him on top. Wilburn really impressed me with a nice ride from La Peru. Your favorite jockey.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
For second, I have Caleb's Posse, who hit the pick 3 with him at 8-1 when he won the King's Bishop over Uncle Mo, and then I have Trap Shot for 4th. Trap Shot has no experience at this racetrack, and he's either ran really long or 3/4. So I want to see how he handles that that middle distance type of run. So I'm going to put him for 4th. But
he didn't really have a good start in the Vosburg either. If you want to make a case and put a line through that race, I mean, he bumped after the start, 3 wide. He was the favorite there. I mean, how could he not off the 112 figure?
Yeah.
But it's a tough race. I don't know if I'm going to play this race just because it's I'd be happy with a lot of these horses winning, but I've always liked Wilburn. I actually bet him in his maiden coming out just off the breeding and Stone Street being owning him and stuff.
Yeah.
But my key horses were the Factor and Wilburn. If he sits just off the pace, I mean, if the Factor folds, Shackelford is tired after his long campaign. Here comes this fresh Bernardini horse getting better with age, and he could sit 3rd or 4th and just kick home and not even know he won. I mean, he's new to the mix. He won the Indiana Derby, and you think he's going to be a short price, or what do you think?
I think the sexier names are like the Factor, Shackelford, Caleb's Posse, and Trap Shot. So I definitely think you're going to be able to get a good price on Wilburn. I mean, his first step up from these allowance optional claimings and decent stakes races was to a grade 2 Indiana race at Hoosier Park, and he just smoked Caleb's Posse and Shackelford. So you have to have respect for that horse. But I think the public is going to go for the sexier names. I mean, I definitely think he might fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And you can get a good price. I have him for 2nd, just because I'm impartial to Shackelford. So 2, 5, 8, 9 is what I'm going for.
Okay. So what? Now we got
the Emirates Airline Breeders' Cup Turf, another European versus the world versus the USA type of race.
And I mean, our American contingents in here don't seem like they're too strong. I don't know. I think Dean's Kitten's going to be a short price, but I actually don't like Dean's Kitten. I mean, what do you think?
Well, Kay Blanco came over here. He had won a classic or 2 over in Europe, and he came over here. Some might say to get a second life in his career. He came over and cherry picked a couple races, and Dean's Kitten gave him all he could handle. But later we found out that Kay Blanco probably broke down during that race and held him off on 3 good legs. But I'm definitely looking at another angle here. Serafina is the big horse. You have Christophe Lemaire coming over, to maintain the ride. From His Highness the Aga Khan, a long history of successful horses that this barn has had. This filly had a tough race in the Arc, but prior to that, several Group 1 wins, several Group 2 wins. I mean, she is the big hype for this race. A lot of people would say they would single her. So between her, the one St. Nicholas Abbey, a horse that I've been impartial to, won the Coronation Cup over Midday. Definitely like that horse. He's another hard knocker, and I guess I would add 9 Midday. She's a mare coming over here. Tom Quealy, the rider of Frankel, same connections with Henry Cecil and Juddmonte. So I'm going to have the 2-1-9 trifecta in this race.
Is the Aga Khan the Prince of Persia? Is that what he is?
He is the spiritual leader to a certain sector of Muslims.
Oh.
Yeah. So, he's got one of the gods on his side.
Nice. Well, yeah, Serafina. I love horses coming into this race after like a bad finish in the Arc, especially when they're like one of the favorites. Mm-hmm. Serafina, I mean, she's like a benchmark for a lot of these horses in here, I think. So I mean, sure. you got to put her on top, and she's dropping weight. Lamurai came over here to ride him, and Midday coming again in here chose this race over maybe another. So I use Serafina and Midday. They just seem like just obvious horses to use. I think Sea Moon's going to take some money for Sir Michael Stout. Can't knock that horse either. But I'm going to key Serafina and Midday.
Sure. On to the ninth race, the Grey Goose Breeders' Cup Juvenile, worth $2 million, going a mile and a 16th. The future stars of tomorrow. I believe this is a race that it's a Union Rags to lose. This horse ran an amazing Champagne, had to wait behind the wall of horses. He's a big horse. Michael Matz knows what it is to have, a big horse in his barn. After losing Lyle Stables as a client, this horse has been the flag bearer to show that Michael Matz knows what he's doing. Definitely like this horse a lot. You got to bring up Creative Cause, who they spoke wonders of his last race in the Norfolk. That when they unfurled him, he just took off like a rocket. So I think between the 10, the 7, the 12 is a horse that's pretty interesting. Fort Loudon, he's a local horse here in Miami, a Calder horse. He swept the Florida Stallion Stakes and is one of the few horses with 2-turn experience. And, the Stanley Gold, Jacks Are Better Farm connections. They did it with Awesome Feather. They did it with Jackson Bend. This awesome, of course, Stallion has, it's like the little engine that could. He produces a couple solid horses, and, they bring him up to these big races. And I think he's someone you should definitely keep your eye on. So I'm going to have the 10, the 7, the 9, and the 12 as my picks for this race.
Great. What'd you think of that horse Dullahan that we were talking about earlier?
Man, Dullahan is Mind That Bird's half brother.
Oh, really?
And his 2 races at Churchill on the dirt, didn't really show much. It wasn't until he took him to the spa, put him on the turf, then took him to Keno on the poly that he just blew up. I believe he's a poly turf horse.
Mm-hmm. So you think they're just going for the prestige of this race, maybe?
100%. Donegal Racing, they own Patio Prado.
Yeah, that's right.
Dale Roman, same connections. They know more about it than I do, but just on form alone, I would say he's a poly turf horse.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in this race here, I like Drill, Creative Cause, and Alpha, and Union Rags. Alpha, we were there again for his maiden win. I had him. I thought he just looked like a 4 or 5-year-old champion winning that race that day. Just visually, just very impressive the way he got around horses and just in hand. He's one of those horses that's not going to be using Lasix. He hasn't used it before. The Godolphin and those guys are trying to gear up for the 2013 rules and see how this horse takes to it.
Sure.
But he hasn't done much wrong. I think he could appreciate the 2 turns in here. Just showing because of the maturity he showed in his maiden race. I think could get a little price in here. Union Rags, it's just he's just been just awesome. I mean, if you like him, you gotta like my Miss Aurelia in the Philly race.
Yeah.
She ran faster than him that day. I don't know if that's a plus for her or a negative for him. But I like Alpha and Union Rags, and again another Scat Daddy in here from overseas, and he could have a shot.
Yeah, I mean, this was a horse that could have very easily been the favorite in the juvenile turf.
That's right.
And they decided to put him here on the dirt. I mean, Scat Daddy, the leading freshman sire, also the sire of Dominic's soon-to-be named Kiriaki yearling
right.
filly. And I know we're both kind of partial to Scat Daddy now, and hey, they run on every surface. So
seems like
you got to tip your cap to Aidan O'Brien for taking the swing here on the dirt. On the dirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is a race I'm probably going to go back and forth on, especially with how they looked that day, how these colts handled the crowd that day. I'm going to be there, so I'll be able to see these horses firsthand.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to be a well-paying race because, I mean, it's going to be a good race. I'm excited for this race.
Now the 10th race, the second to last race on the card. This is the TVG Breeders' Cup Mile.
Isn't it called the Goldakova Mile?
Well, she's been the landlord for 3 years. Now she's trying to go for the 4-peat. I think she's shown a little more vulnerability this year, albeit not by much. But losing 3 out of 5 races coming into this Breeders' Cup, it shows a little bit of a vulnerability that I once saw in my favorite famous racehorse Lure when he went for the 3-peat. Even though she's going for the 4-peat, I believe this year they might be able to get her. I'm going to go with a real long shot, the 11 Tour Allure. I don't know if it might be the biggest price on the board, but just with the sexiest name as Goldakova and Gioponti, when a lot of fans are going to be putting money on those two, I think the 11 is my pick to win this race. With Leparoux flying late to overcome him. The 13. I have the 3 Courageous Cat for second. Cat, you got to respect Goldakova and Gioponti. And just keep an eye out for the 8-horse, Byword. Lost to Goldakova by half a length last year, and coming in off a nice Prix d'Olard win over in France. And they say he's been training nice, over at Churchill Downs. So definitely one to look out for in your exotics for sure.
It's funny because, I mean, I've known the horse for a while, but Get Stormy, we didn't even talk about that horse.
No.
I mean,
a beautiful horse.
He could win the race. Yes. He's won at Churchill. He upset it up the Derby undercard. And, he's 2 for 3 at Churchill. Garrett Gomez gets the call. But we didn't talk about him. There's some superstars in the race like Goldakova, and you have this horse Zoffany that was, highly regarded before the Shadwell Mile and just didn't even lift a hoof.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of horses here that wise guys can point to. Zoffany, just lost to Frankel.
Yeah.
Mr. Commons and Geronimo are the California stars.
See, I don't even like those horses. This is a race full of opinion. Full of opinion. I mean, Tour Allure. I had her to beat Get Stormy over at Saratoga that day. That was great. I didn't pick her in the Woodbine Mile. I picked her for like 2nd or 3rd, and she just surprised everybody that day. I had Courageous Cat. But, Sydney Scandy's going to be out there trying to break records and set the pace. Yeah. It's only a mile.
And Strong Suit. This is another big European horse. Almost won the Group 1 Prix Jean Prat at Chantilly. Ran strong over there. As is 2-1 against Zoffany. So it's another horse that has ran big in Europe, but you don't know how that form's going to translate over here.
Mm-hmm. And so I use Goldakova because I think she's going to fire. If she doesn't win, she's got to be in it.
Yeah.
She's just that good. Courageous Cat, Gioponti, and Zoffany, depending on how Zoffany looks that day. I like the fact that, she ran a clunker and they didn't care. And hey, we're going to run her back. We know who this horse is. And that just shows a lot. I don't know if they kept this horse in the U.S. after that effort or they brought him back.